So to welcome Minister Catherine Martin here with us today to speak about the report coming from the committee. And I think there's nearly 12 or so recommendations, Minister, but it is really about, sort of the payment conditions or the working conditions and payment, I suppose, within the tourism sectors. Minister, I know as well that the Taoiseach has brought through the payment of wages, the tips bill, one of the 5 workers' rights that we in government are fighting for. So in other words, that tips cannot make up basic wages. And I mean, that's really important in the hospitality industry as well. I was in a hotel recently, and you're tapping, you're paying when you tap, and you're hoping that you can add on the tips on top. But are all hospitality providers and restaurants, ensuring that we can do that, so that if customers wish to leave a tip, that they're able to do it, and that it will go to employees as well. Minister, the Fáilte Ireland have rolled out this week, a huge programme around engagement. And I was on the session on Monday. I know you were speaking on it as well. It's great to see their engagement now with sort of providers, industry stakeholders, and there's a rollout to different regions around that sort of stakeholder brand. So the Wild Atlantic Way, Hidden Heartlands, for example, are 2 that are in Galway. The Hidden Heartlands band is one I'm really interested in, Minister, and I've raised this a number of times at Fáilte Ireland, and I've raised it again this week. When you go to log on to register for this, you are asked what county you are from. And when you indicate Galway, you're automatically put into Wild Atlantic Way. And yet, East Galway is a key part of Hidden Heartlands. It's 40 miles away from the coastal region, and in fact is one of the key areas that's been affected by Just Transition, Minister. 68 million is going to Fáilte Ireland from Just Transition. Particularly looking, and I know that in their presentation it looks at the Beara Breffni Way, one of the key walks that comes right through the spine of Ireland, from Cork, West Cork, the whole way up, goes through so many counties. I mean, it'll be phenomenal. But at the moment, it's community groups that are, getting funding on sort of different pieces throughout the year. But Minister, I suppose I'm just taking it. I was frustrated this week, to be honest. I was frustrated because, hotel businesses, hospitality providers, tourism groups, community groups involved in tourism, this is in rural areas in the likes of East Galway and Roscommon that would not have a natural, maybe, be drawing huge amounts of tourism. We've had the €5 million investment in Strokestown into the Family Museum, which is one of the largest investments by Fáilte Ireland. But what I'm talking about here is that the rollouts that have been planned by Fáilte Ireland in terms of the engagement with industry, training employees, showing that there's career progression, all of this has been offered online. And yet if businesses don't know about these meetings that are happening and they haven't received invitations directly from Fáilte Ireland, and when you log on and say you're from Galway and you only get an invite to Wild Atlantic Way, I mean, how is that meeting the Just Transition criteria about it being offered to all counties? So that was just one thing, perhaps, that maybe Fáilte Ireland might look at, and I've engaged with them this week on that. Just on the other areas around the tourism side of things, I believe that we have great quality in terms of the staff, the hotels, our restaurants. I know that there's so many groups that are reaching out. We have groups like community groups as well as industry. Like, for example, IWAI, brand new branches around the River Suck, for example, along the Beara Breffni Way, where they're trying to promote tourism using the waterways, working with Waterways Ireland, trying to engage with Fáilte Ireland, and a lot of our development groups in towns. We're small towns. Sometimes we don't have chambers of commerce. Sometimes we don't have that industry clout in a town. We have community groups that are our clout. But if they're, how do you support these community groups when they're trying to promote the tourism of the area? So I suppose those are just some of the key points I have, and really I would really like to see more proactive engagement, at least in the early stages, in areas that may not be as familiar with the tourism benefits and supports that have been offered through Fáilte Ireland, and that's coming through in the areas specifically that are affected by Just Transition, and specifically when there is funding going in around that.
Thank you.
I welcome the opportunity to address the Seanad this evening to speak about tourism, and in particular the report of the Joint Committee on Tourism, Culture, Arts, Sport and Media entitled Working Conditions and Skills Shortages in Ireland's Tourism and Hospitality Sector. And I want to thank Deputy Niamh Smith and all the members of the Joint Committee for their work on this report. I'd also like to thank the Senators today for their contributions and views on this report and its recommendations. Just before I continue, there was two specifics there from Senator Dolan in relation to the East Galway issue, and just to say my tourism officials actually raised it on Monday with them and asked for it to be addressed, and also just to inform you that in relation to the Borough of Breffni Way, Fáilte Ireland are actually undertaking a development plan for this walking route.